Hey guys, it's me, Seren, back with another video. I'm gonna start this one with my review video for Soul, which recently came out on Disney Plus. I did watch it. I don't have Disney Plus, like I don't pay for that platform, but I was able to see it through somebody else's platform. And I didn't like this movie. I did not like this movie. Yeah, I just turned another light on because I felt like it was too dark in here, even though I have my cold blanket over me. But I didn't like this movie. I'm low-key disappointed because even though, like I told you guys, I was really going into this movie without any expectations or, trying to go into it without any expectations. Um, I know this is the first black-led movie by Pixar ever, so but I was trying to just like go in and like, watch it, see if I'd have an enjoyable, experience. And I didn't like this movie. Overall, I felt like this movie was all over the place. I felt like the so number one, I'm assuming this is a movie for adults because I don't see how this movie will play for children. Like, how does someone sit down and explain these types of themes to a child? Like if you watch this movie, let's say on Christmas Day or something like that with your family members, now you're obviously going to have some conversations about, death and the meaning of life. Like, who is this for? I kind of felt like I felt like this movie cheated. I felt like this movie cheated. I felt like there was a bait and switch involved in the movie. I know that there was some chatter when the movie initially, the stills came out and the trailer came out, and people were concerned that, we're getting a black protagonist, first black protagonist ever in a Pixar movie, and it appears this person dies. Spoilers, 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 spoilers. It appears this person dies within the first 10 minutes and then turns into like a blue blob, a raceless, blob. And the director was like, no, for the majority of the movie, more than half of the movie, he's not a blue blob. Like our black character is going to be on screen. Like, don't worry about it. But then it turns out that motherfuckers literally did a bait and switch, a switcheroo, and they put a white woman, Tina Fey, inside of his body. I know it's supposed to be like a soul, but like we all know it's Tina Fey. Like you pick Tina Fey to be the voice actress, a very famous voice. She's clearly a white woman. It's a little Get Out. It's a little Get Out tease, the white person inside the black person. I wasn't feeling that. So I wrote in Discord, I'm just going to read you guys a little bit of what I wrote in Discord. I said, I felt like they hella cheated the audience with the body switching. Our black main character is Tina Fey for most of the movie, and Jamie Foxx is a cat. I don't know if this was shown in the trailer. I have not watched any trailers for this film, so I don't know if like the cat was shown and like the body switching element was shown. But I felt like this is a cheat because our main character is not really black. Like, our main character is not really Jamie Foxx. Like, you have this white woman in the body of this black character sort of going through the motions of this black character's life. I don't know. The plot line made me uncomfortable. It was not really giving me what I wanted from Soul. I don't really feel that the movie... I just thought the movie was, like, I don't know. I hate to say that I thought the movie was going to go a different way, but I did think the movie was going to go a different way. And I felt like 22 was really obnoxious and not likable. Like, she's fucking Tina Fey. Like, she's giving us Karen. Like, she's not likable. She's super obnoxious. She's just, like... I don't like these obnoxious white characters. I don't like these obnoxious, like, white women characters. I don't find them likable. I don't find them... Not even likable. They're not even supposed to be likable. I don't find them interesting. I don't find them relatable. I don't root for them. I don't want them. I don't want obnoxious ass 22. I don't want Lena Dunham, the pig, calling herself the voice of a generation. Like, I'm tired of them. I don't want to hear them or see them. Well, I guess I didn't see them because she was inside of someone else's body, but I don't want to hear them. The plotline made me uncomfortable. The white woman has to experience life as this black man to find joy or whatever. Maybe if 22 was more likable, but she was serving Karen in this nigga body. And I don't want to hear that the pre-souls or whatever are not racialized or gendered, because Tina Fey has a very recognizable shtick, and the shtick is like peak white woman. Like, 22 is an obnoxious white woman. Why does she get inside of his body? I don't like that. Like, I feel like white people and white women especially, there's this like trope of like white people and especially white women But like really white people in general, but I have like a movie in mind fresh on my brain right now, which is The Ramen Girl, which I just heard of with Brittany Murphy because I'm randomly scrolling through fucking Hulu and I see this movie that I've never heard of before in my life, where Brittany Murphy, I only watched the trailer, I didn't watch the film, because I was like, what the fuck is this? The Ramen Girl starring Brittany Murphy, Last Nigga Alive, on starring Tom Hanks. But I was like, okay, what is this? And it's like Brittany Murphy moves to Japan to be with her boyfriend, who sets her up in a fucking apartment for 6 months. It says this in the trailer, like the apartment's paid up to 6 months, like do whatever you want. But then he basically like leaves. He like abandons her in Japan or whatever, and she ends up in this like ramen noodle shop, like crying because she got abandoned. She's trying to like figure out what she's gonna do with her life or whatever. And she decides she wants to be like a ramen girl, like a noodle girl, and like learn to make ramen, like learn to make noodles, and like find the meaning of her life through this like, you know, making noodles through this like not that there's anything wrong with that, because like I just watched Jiro Dream of Sushi and I loved it, even though it's not about noodles, it's about sushi. But like this idea of like white people and like especially white women like finding themselves through this like filter of this like foreign culture, or you know, in Seoul it's this like foreign body, like, you know, and fucking Lost in Translation, Scarlett Johansson and Bill, which I fucking hate Sofia Coppola, as you guys know. But like Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson are like in Tokyo, and Tokyo is like so foreign, this like totally foreign culture, and these like lights, and you know, trying to like find who you are and find your identity as like filtered through this like otherness and this like othered culture and these like othered characters, and like you, the white person, and especially white women. I feel like maybe white women make this a little bit more palatable because white women get a pass for everything. But like in you learning the meaning of life, like, you know, white people learning the meaning of life through like nigga shit or other shit is a trope. And that's what I feel like I watched in animated form with Soul. Another movie where this type of like trope, we saw this type of trope, was like Avatar, right? Like James Cameron's Avatar, where the white guy is able to like get inside the body of the fucking blue people, can't think of their name right now, and you know, experience life. And what's their name? Oh, I really am on a Star Wars like track now because I want to say what's their name, the Naboo. That's not their name. But like, you know, like he gets inside of the body and he's able to like experience all these things. Jake, that's his fucking name. Jake's able to like experience all these things, and through his like experience, and which he can't experience in his real life because like he's in the wheelchair and he's white and shit, you know. So now he's able to like experience all these things through Navid or something like that. That's their name. He's able to like experience all these things through them and like understand, you know, the mystical meaning of life and like connect and, you know, become the one true dragon master, colonizer adjacent type shit. I'm always really wary about like this type of body swapping, especially considering, like I said, even though this is like a pre-Soul, we know it's Tina Fey. And I don't know, I did not really care for that element of it. And like I said, it felt like a cheat. It felt like a cheat for the audience because our quote unquote so-called black main character, who's Jamie Foxx, Jamie Foxx is a cat for most of the fucking movie, and his body is being inhabited by Tina Fey. And I'm like, white people inside black people bodies just does not do it for me. And oddly enough, it makes it really hard for me to review this because a lot of the things that I liked in the movie, like for example, the barbershop scene. I love the barbershop scene. I thought it was great. I thought it was really well animated. It's the first time I've ever seen anything like that animated. You know, they talk all the time about how like hair, and especially like black hair, is like hard to animate. So it was the first time I was ever able to see something like that animated, and something that was like a very great sort of authentic scene from what you might consider, you know, like black American culture, for example. Yet the context of the framing of the scene, right, is that this 22, this pre-Soul, or, you know, who's Tina Fey, white woman. It's Tina Fey, sorry. You know, walks into a barbershop and has this existential conversation with the barber. You know, it's like this, it's like a white woman getting, it's like a fish out of water type scenario, like where the barbershop, even though like this guy is supposed to be our main character, the barbershop is like othered. It's like an othered experience for this like soul, this like pre-soul or whatever. And so through this totally new, weird, othered experience, the soul is able to like achieve transcendence or whatever. But it's, you know, it's almost a little bit, I don't know, like it's almost a little bit more insulting that they made the main character black and that they made these, you know, what might be considered like Black American experiences, because they're inherently othered, because this soul, you know, has not experienced anything. So they're like very inherently othered, and it's like I have to experience all this like weird shit. Whoa, they're cutting my hair. Do I look younger? Like the joke is the otherness of it. And they just kind of like found a way to make it a little bit acceptable, because like this is not a real white woman. It's like a pre-soul that doesn't know any better. It's I don't know. So I did not watch the trailer for this movie. As you guys know, I stopped watching trailers because I feel like the trailers give too much of the movie away. So again, if this is like shown that this is one of the main plot points, I didn't know that. You know, I was trying to go into the movie sort of with a totally open mind and a blank slate, and just the plotline made me uncomfortable. Like Avatar with some jazz, with some Get Out, you know, putting a white person in an other body so they can have an other experience and find the true meaning of life. Like, yeah, man, when those niggers are playing the jazz music, they're really getting to the meaning of life. Like, I don't know, I feel like that's how this film was pitched in a board meeting. Like, let's put Tina Fey in a black body so she can like experience the meaning of life. It just didn't work for me. Didn't work for me. Didn't work for me. Didn't work for me. It didn't work for me. Like there's this very pervasive, prevailing idea that black people and black bodies, there's this idea that like we are vessels, like we are just vessels, that we are not capable of having our own stories, and that we are vessels for other characters that are primarily played and or voiced by white people. And for this to be the very first Pixar movie with a black main character, for them to decide to go this route where our character's body is a vessel, a literal vessel for Tina Fey, I feel is uncomfortable. It makes me uncomfortable. And like I said, I know for a fact that the director was even questioned about some of these optics and was like, kind of like, you know, laughed it off like, no, our black main character is like black for the majority. He's like in the majority of the movie. Like he is, but you have a white person inside of him. And I'm on Discord right now as I'm filming, so when you guys watch this, you'll remember this part. And Tim even wrote me back on Discord. He said, I'm just completely over movies where black people and black bodies are mere vessels for white character arcs. And like, that's really what happened here. And I just don't find that to be exciting and empowering for me. And I feel like they really put Joe and his life and his dreams and his ideology, his family members. Like, does Joe have any friends? Like, we don't really see Joe. We don't see Joe. Within 10 minutes of the movie coming on, Joe is dead. And then Tina Fey is in his body for, like, the rest of the movie. So, like, we do get these, like, glimpses into his life, like I said. But the glimpses of his life that we get are via this filter that is Tina Fey, via this sort of white conduit that is viewing all of this stuff as just, like, totally alien and othered. And I don't know how I feel about that. I don't care for that at all. Like, why can't Joe be the center of his own story? Why can't his dreams and his ideologies change from him being in his own body, having control of his own story? Like, I felt like the character of 22 was just totally obnoxious and unnecessary. And to me, the character of 22 is meant to stand in for the audience, and the audience is obviously meant to be white. Like, Toni Morrison has talked repeatedly about, you know, writing, and as a writer, constantly pushing back against, like, this white invisible person over her shoulder, you know, like, or, you know, because she felt like, you know, as a black artist and as a black writer, like, I'm constantly getting this pushback of, like, are white people going to understand this? And, like, who is this for? And, you know, constantly having to reassert that I'm black and I'm making this for a black audience, so I don't have to explain what this, and this is. I don't have to sort of filter my work through this white gaze, right? Through this white filter to make what my main black characters' lives and friends and family members and ideologies, and to make all these things palatable. I feel like the character of 22, this white woman, Tina Fey, represents the mainstream white audience, and, being so confused about all this stuff, and, kind of being eased into it, and sort of understanding the meaning of life, again, through this filter of otherness. Themes were very much muddled and confused by the end. One of the themes, it seems like, it's that life is for living. The main character, Joe Gardner, is constantly questioning, what's the purpose of his life if he does not become a great jazz musician. All he thinks about is jazz. All he thinks about is music. He loves music. He loves jazz. So what is the meaning of his life? Will his life be a waste if he just lives a quote-unquote regular life as a music teacher, whatever, if he doesn't become a big jazz musician? Which I think that should have been, more deeply examined. Because it's like, it doesn't matter if you ever become like a big famous jazz musician, like life is supposed to be for living. And like, this is what 22, the pre-soul, sort of has to learn, is that it's not about quote unquote finding your quote unquote spark that you're going to be obsessed with and order your whole life around, that life is just for living, that you can also live for the day-to-day things, the taking a walk in a park, and, and these are very interesting ideas. This is probably one of the most abstract films that Pixar's ever done, with a lot of abstract, really interesting, deep, metaphysical, philosophical ideas. But I just don't think that they were executed well. It seems like they themselves lost track of what was the point of their film. If the lesson for Joe to learn was that life is for living, and you can't be so single-mindedly obsessed and focused on this idea that if you don't become a great jazz musician, your life is over, you're sort of letting your life, kind of pass you by. I just don't think that the white woman character of 22 was necessary to teach Joe these lessons, and for him to come to these conclusions within his own life by being motherfucking transported into a fucking cat and having somebody else take over his body. Like, I just don't think that that was like the best way to convey these messages and to convey these ideologies. They got really bogged down in the mysticism of it all. Even though they were creating some beautiful shots, they were playing around with some amazing ideas. A lot of it reminded me of In and Out, which is a movie that I loved. I didn't even see In and Out in the theaters. I was like so not interested. And I just like happened to catch it one day on TV. And I loved that film. And I really fell in love with it. I've watched it a ton of times. I think it's a great film with a really emotionally resonant core about growing up, about understanding that you're not always going to feel happy, about teaching children and engaging with children on a certain type of way so they understand that they don't always have to feel happy. Sometimes they're going to feel sad. Sometimes your mind's going to change. Your memories are going to change. Things that were happy can become sad later on. How are we going to navigate these feelings without totally shutting down and becoming numb? I thought it was a beautiful, again, really emotionally resonant film. And there was a lot. I could see that maybe some of the ideas that came up while they were making In and Out, because I think it's the same director, same writers. And I know that film was very personal because I believe the director wrote it about his daughter as she was, approaching her teenage years, and he felt like he wasn't relating to her anymore and stuff like that. And so he kind of wrote this sort of whimsical ideology of like what's going on in her head. And I can see some of the ideas on like personality, what makes a personality, what do we focus on, what's important to us in life. Like soul. Why not have something like, Joe falls in the manhole, he ends up in the pre-soul, the great before, whatever. I was going to say the pre-great beyond. The great before, and then he ends up like, I don't know, why can't he meet like his old soul, like himself as a pre-soul, or himself as a child, or himself as a baby, and, kind of like recapture that old magic of, living life just to live. I didn't understand why this ideology had to be filtered through this white woman character of 22. It just seemed really weird and off-putting to me. One more thing that I wrote on Discord about the ending of the film, which I did not like. I said, also, I don't think he should have been sent back. He got in and out of his body twice, even though it was his time. Send him to the great beyond already. A better message, in my opinion, would have been for him to realize, because they have that whole montage of like him with his dad and like, him with students, him with the young Curly, like him doing all these things. So I said, I felt like a better message, in my opinion, would have been for him to realize he actually did have a great life while he was alive. He had a loving family. We still don't know if he has any friends or anything, but he had a loving family. We see that he has his students. You know, he teaches kids on the side, like Connie. Again, he had this influence on Curly, who says, like, I became a musician because of you. You know, like it should have been, he had a great life. He should have been ready to move on to the great beyond, just like how 22 had to become ready for life. Sending him back to his body yet again seemed like it totally undercut the message. If the message is supposed to be, you know, life is for living, not obsessing, you have to, like, appreciate what you have while you're alive. Like, what is, like, it just seemed like like, why send him back? After we just got a whole montage of him, like, realizing, like, the purpose of his life and that his life was amazing. They had the little Jerry come in and be like, you've impressed us. We're going to give you another chance and send you back. Even though we just had this whole movie that was supposed to be about understanding the value of life. Understanding that the value of life is in, like, the little everyday moments. But we're still going to, like, undercut our whole message and send you back anyway because, like, we have to have a happy ending for the film. I also felt like the Jerrys, the whole dream space looked incredible. Like, everything looked so visually stunning and aesthetically pleasing. Yeah, I just felt like this movie, for a movie called Soul, like, it really didn't have a soul. Like, if you dig down underneath the surface of this film, I feel like there's nothing there. Like, the great before, the pre-birth space or whatever, there are these, like, Jerrys, which are basically, like, little babysitters. To me, it looked like it was supposed to be, like, a nursery for souls that haven't been born yet. That's why I keep calling them pre-souls or whatever. And so you have, like, the Jerrys that are kind of, like, hypothetical dream space womb, you know, these are things that would have occurred while you were in the womb or, you know, like while you were waiting around to be born, you know, type of stuff. And so you have the Jerrys that are, like, hypothetical almost, you know, counselors or, you know, caregivers, child minders, you know, that they send you in to get the different elements of your personality. And but, like, not what exactly are they, because I'm sure the idea is meant to be abstract. You're not meant to understand exactly what they are, but, like, why is there a Terry? Why is there one Terry? Why does he not look like the rest of them? He doesn't talk like the rest of them. He has a totally different personality. Like, are there more Terrys? Like, it's never explained. Like, Terry is, like, mostly used as a visual sight gag. Like I said, the visuals and the aesthetics are great. He's mostly used as a visual sight gag to, like, go into the real world when he's trying to, like, catch Joe, who's, like, basically, you know, an escaped soul, a wayward soul. And it's very cool how he's, like, implemented into these different lines and things on the street and the signage and things like that. And then they have this weird-ass gag where he accidentally snatches the wrong person. He, like, snatches this black dude that's been, like, ribbing on Joe in the barbershop. It's a little uncomfortable. Like, what was the point of that scene? I know the point was just for it to be, like, funny. Like, they accidentally grabbed the wrong person, but I know some people felt like that was a little bit racially insensitive, you know, and we just have, like, all this Black Lives Matter stuff, like, black people are not a monolith, we're not all the same, don't get us confused, you know, black people really do get shot in the streets for a case of mistaken identity, you know, so a lot of people felt like to include that they grabbed the wrong black person was, like, insensitive. I think it was just meant to be a joke, but, like, we could have had that exact same scene play out with, like, Joe and Connie are, like, sitting on the steps, and it could have been, like, Connie by mistake. You know, it just seems like there was not really too much, for all this, like, fanfare about, like, first black character in Pixar, it seemed like there was not enough thought given about the racial optics of the film. Or even, again, like, what is the actual message of the film? A better message, in my opinion, would have been for him to realize he actually did have a great life. He had a loving family. He had his students who he obviously impacted, like Curly and, like, Connie, you know, and that even though he, quote unquote, like, missed his moment to become a famous musician or whatever, that he had a great life. Like, you know, he should have been ready to move on to the great beyond, just like 22 had to become ready to move on to life. Sending him back seems like it undercut the message of, like, life being for living and not for obsessing and not for, like, organizing your whole life around this, like, obsessive idea of, like, I have to become fucking a famous musician or else my life is meaningless. Like, even though you are having a great life, you know, just your life, like, your life is great. I really wish they had, like, focused, really honed in on this message. And I think this would have been a great, appropriate message for kids. That your life is great. Like, it doesn't matter if you're fucking rich, famous, musician, this, that, like, your life is great. That the day-to-day of, you know, your friends and your family members and your loved ones, and, you know, that obviously not for people that are, you know, really stuck in shitty situations and stuff like that. But, you know, I'm just talking about in general. Like, that even though your life is not because now everybody's suffering from FOMO and the social media and stuff. Like, even though your life is not like this person's life over here, your life can still be great. Like, that would have been a great message and something that I wish they had leaned into a little bit more and a little bit harder than this like metaphysical. Even though the metaphysical stuff was beautiful and I didn't mind it, but I wish it had been went about in a different way and that they had really leaned a little bit more on the idea of like, we're talking about what is the meaning of life, basically. And it's like, is the meaning of life to have a quote unquote passion and obsession and to become, famous or to become rich or to get the big gig or the big break? Is that the point of life? And I also feel like there's nothing wrong either with feeling like you have a passion or an obsession or a goal that you're working towards. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But like, not, because even what leads up to Joe's death is him like not paying attention to his surroundings and like not being aware and cognizant and present in his own life. So there was definitely some dregs of that idea of like, be present in your own life, be aware, be hyper focused on your own life, understand that you're here right now. This is your life and it's your life for living. And it's great. Even if it's not going the way that you expected, you're still making a difference in people's lives and things like that. And instead they just leaned into this 22 character and this Tina Fey character and like this experience of like life through his eyes for the well-being of this character. And then at the end, he gets this like reset anyway. He gets to like go back. I don't know. I wasn't feeling it. It just seemed like it cheapened a lot of the ideas. Again, it cheapened the soul, quote unquote, soul of the project. I felt like Joe and 22 were supposed to be parallels on understanding the meaning of life and moving on. But ultimately, Joe didn't move on. Like, I guess it's like a happier ending that he got sent back to Earth. With this, I guess newfound knowledge of the fact that like he doesn't have to be a famous jazz quartet musician, to be happy. He could have just, took the job at the school. That never even got resolved. Like, did he take the job? I mean, I guess they feel like it doesn't matter because ultimately the lesson is supposed to be that he learned the meaning of life. But it should be that he learned the meaning of life and moved on to the great beyond, just like how 22 had to move on to Earth. I thought since they sent him back, they were at least going to have them bump into each other again. Nope, nothing. No, I felt like the movie just ended. There wasn't even no resolution. I know that there were like multiple endings in mind for this movie, but I really got the feeling that like a lot of plot points got like cut out or moved around. Like I said, the Great Before shit, a lot of the Jerry and Terry shit seemed like it wasn't finished. Like just too much of the ideas and the plot points seemed like they just weren't finished and shit just like ended. Like, the theme of most of these movies is normally that, like, when it's time for you to move on, like, it's time for you to move on. Like, in All Dogs Go to Heaven, Charlie dies. He does get back to his body, but, like, ultimately, when it's time for you to move on, you have to move on. So, and for a movie that, again, it seems like it's trying to discuss these really deep, big ideas about the meaning of life and how do we know when it's time to move on, move to the next phase, and move to the next step, and how do we live our best lives, like... I get that you didn't want him to die, but, like, you killed him. Like, you killed him within the first 10 minutes of the movie. So maybe you could have, like, written that a different way if you didn't want to ultimately deal with the consequences of, like, what does this mean when we have somebody die and then we put them back in their body, And we have this whole overarching theme about 22, and you need to move on, and you need to go to Earth, and you have to accept, life and be ready. The whole point of, like, the damn Earth badge was, like, being ready, like... It's not about spark. It's about being ready to live. Like, and yeah, we have this whole setup numerous times with this, like, great beyond. And, like, Joe being on the escalator and he does not accept moving on. And he gets to go back to his body. It just undercut their whole message. They didn't seem solid and secure on their message about what is the meaning of life. And I also felt like they got a little confused with, like, interweaving the stuff in there about, like, the zone and the artist getting into the zone. This movie to me was like two different movies. Like, there's one movie, I don't know why are they picking up garbage? It's Monday, right? It's Monday, right? Why are they picking up the garbage? I don't know. But it's like, there's one movie that's about art and the artist and... the passion of the artist and the obsession of the artist and the artist that, will do anything for art and, art is their life. And at what point do you say, well, I'm doing good enough, or I'm a music teacher. I got this like full-time offer, this great job. I'm impacting lives. I have my family members, my mom. I'm doing my little side gigs, even though my mom doesn't like it, whatever, whatever. But I'm still an artist. I'm able to get into my artist zone. And when I'm in my zone, I'm physically, they almost made it like a physical thing. Like I'm getting physically into like the spiritual realm. I'm traveling to another place. And the depictions of that were beautiful. And again, like if they had leaned into that, like, just me and my art and getting into the zone is enough. It doesn't matter if I fucking get the big gig with Dorothea Williams, and it doesn't matter if I ever become rich and famous. Just what I have is enough, like my gift and my zest for life and the little things that I'm experiencing every day, again, and like now that I know the zone is a real thing and, I'm able to astral project, like I'm doing good. I wish they had like leaned into that, and I feel like they could have leaned into that without killing him and putting Tina Fey in his body. That seems like it's a different movie. That's the movie that really I want to see. That's the movie that I think would have been great. Like, and we're talking about soul, yes, and the nature of the soul and the nature of the artist. And again, like, where does your soul go when you're creating? Are you getting into this metaphysical headspace? And, is that enough? Or do you need more? Do you need to make money off of it? Do you need to make a career off of it? They kind of like sidestepped a lot of those type of questions. I guess they felt like those questions were not appropriate for children. Yet, and then we had this like other movie that was about like death and dying and acceptance and moving on and, the use of this pre-soul 22 figure. And that stuff I didn't like. I didn't like any of that stuff. I hated the character of 22. Thought she was really obnoxious. I felt like the pre-birth space was beautifully abstract, but it was so abstract that it just didn't seem like it made sense. It just seemed like the whole movie was slapped together with all these like various themes. And then they just made up for not really having a concrete handle on their themes by just making a visually, beautifully stunning film. Every shot of the film is gorgeous. Like I might watch, like this is the type of movie that I would put on mute and have like music playing so that I could just like see like the shots of them like getting into the zone and the fact that they're messing around with like astral projection and people that can like control their astral bodies, while they're in the zone, while they're like on the astral plane. Gorgeous. The sign spinner dude on the fucking boat. Gorgeous. This like these blues and like the color scheme, like these blues and these purples and all the scenes where he's like playing the music and when the girl Connie is playing the saxophone, they did a really good job of showing artists that are getting into a zone. So again, it also makes it seem a little bit confusing, this message of like, well, your art's not everything. Like life is about the little things, not about the art. Like just two conflicting messages. I don't know. I feel ultimately like this movie wanted to talk about life and death and what is the meaning of life. But they were afraid to. It seems to me like they were really afraid. Well, number one, it seems like at least 2 or 3 movies in one with these ideas that are all over the place. It's sort of like, do you follow your passion no matter what because it's your passion? Or does passion not matter? And life is all about the little things, like his student Connie comes to his house and is like, I'm going to quit. I'm quitting school. I'm quitting band. I'm quitting music. And then it's like, we see Connie get in the zone. Is Connie the best player, the most talented player? No. But we see her get into the zone numerous times because it's something that she truly loves. And then 22 in Joe's body encourages her to continue playing because, it's her passion. It's what she loves. So it's like on the one hand, we're getting this messaging that's like, follow your passion, do what you love, get in the zone, even if it's spinning a sign, do what you love to get in the zone. Do what you love, follow your passion. But on the other hand, we have like Joe who's like clashing with his mother because his mother wants him to get, a good job, which he's just been offered by the school. And yet Joe gets a dream job. He gets a dream gig. He does amazingly well. And then like, because the plot requires it, he feels empty. He doesn't feel anything so that he can like go back and like give his Earth badge to 22. And I was just like, all these things are happening. It seems like they could not settle on what the message of the movie is. Is the message of the movie to follow your passion and your dreams and, get into the zone, get into this beautiful metaphysical space? Or is the message that passion and dreams don't really matter? Because like all types of people are sent through the personality chambers and have all these, personality quirks that you receive in the pre-soul, the great before, and that really it's about like just living, like just like taking your day-to-day, life. It doesn't really matter if you achieve your passions or if you achieve your goals. Like at the end of the day, life is just for living. And yet also Joe doesn't choose to move on to the great beyond. He chooses instead to go back to his body, even though we see that he actually, in fact, did have a great life full of living, even though he never got, to his peak of being a great musician, even though he could have, because he got the job. Like, what? Like, the messaging was all over the place. Like I said, in my notes, I just wrote, like, I felt like this film had very conflicting messages and was all over the place in terms of what they were trying to do. I did not like the body swapping, didn't like Tina Fey's character, didn't like that our black main character spends the majority of this film as a cat. And the visual image that we see is like a white woman, being weird in his body. And like I said, the stuff that I did like felt like it was really undercooked, underdeveloped. It was just a lot of beautiful visuals. Like the visuals were stunning again, like the whole time space continuum and like him even being on the escalator, like going to the great beyond, and like the depictions of these like black space, like the black and white scenes, and the whole design of like Terry had me geeking the fuck out. These like lines and shit. I love that. I loved the self-awareness and the meta element of like this guy going through life and he's not paying attention. There's nails, there's banana peels, there's bricks falling. He's not paying attention, walking through traffic. He walks in a manhole cover. I really appreciated that. I thought that was really funny, really witty. The movie did have a lot of humor that I liked. Again, I said that there were some really beautiful scenes and depictions of what I felt was Black American culture that I liked, like the barbershop, even though it was filtered through the character of 22 sort of being in his body. Again, I wish that we saw more of Joe. Joe doesn't have friends or something. Like, where are Joe's friends? I wish we got more of his family members. I wish we got, more. They killed Joe within 10 minutes of the movie, and then we were kind of off on this ride. And I wish we had even got like more of the jazz and more of if the whole concept is supposed to be that, it's fine to have passion and a spark and creativity, but ultimately you don't want to become obsessed that life is for living, not for obsessing over, which they touched on again with the idea of these like lost souls. But I felt like, for example, they did not even follow the rules of their own universe, because like, how did Joe not become a lost soul? Like, he basically died. He's in a coma because he like doesn't go into the great beyond and die like he's supposed to. He keeps like abandoning ship, trying to get back to his body because he's obsessed. How does he not become a lost soul at some point? Like, he is a lost soul. And if the whole point is supposed to be not to be obsessed with life in a certain type of way, to understand that like you had your time to live and now move on, him going back to his body is still continuing this obsession with being tethered to your physical body, and this obsession, like this obsession with being tethered to your physical body and the physical plane and like life and all these things. And they send him back to his body anyway. I was just like, they are just undercutting their own message. Like, it seems like they don't take their own message serious, or they don't know what it is. And that's in addition to like the race stuff that I didn't like. But visually stunning. Visually stunning. Like, I had serious issues clearly with the writing, the messaging, the plot, the casting, the characters, the ideology, but it was visually gorgeous. Again, I loved all the stuff about artistry and getting into the zone. I wish that was like leaned into a little bit more. I even loved some of the metaphysical ideas that they were playing around with in terms of, what makes a life valuable. Is it the little things? Is it getting everything we want? Is it, but I just felt like they didn't get to a natural conclusion. They undercut their own message too much, and the rules of their universe as well. And, beautiful to look at, great gowns, beautiful gowns, but it just seemed like a lot of undercooked, half-baked ideas from Up and Inside Out about, the metaphysical plane and morality and identity and life, what makes life worth living. So I know this movie is getting glowing reviews. A lot of people are really enjoying it. Like I said, I feel like on the surface, again, visually, the film is stunning. And I feel like on a surface level, in a sort of rhetorical space, not a literal space, but in like a rhetorical space, the messaging is like, the message of like life is for living. be present in the moment. Don't be hyper focused on passions and goals. Like, I don't. The message of like life is for living is a good message, and not being obsessive and hyper focused. Unless you have like tons of talent like Michael Jackson, whatever. We've talked about this. We've talked about being hyper laser focused, and is that a good thing or a bad thing? But again, it's like the messaging of the movie. Even in my little like recap of the messaging of the movie, I feel like the messaging of the movie is so unclear and so undercut by other things that occur, just all over the place. It's too many movies. It's too many messages. It's like 3 movies in one. I feel like the overall message that people like is to, focus on the little things, not get obsessed. Life is for living, which is a cute message. It's a shallow message for the way that this film is being presented, with these deep ideas about, metaphysical thoughts and dreams and the meaning of life. Like I said, I know there was like I know Inside Out didn't do as well as he wanted, and so this movie had some of the leftover, remnants of ideology from that one, even though I think that movie's a much better movie than this one. These ideas just seem half-baked, and too many ideas, too many conflicting ideologies tried to like get crammed into one movie and then wrapped up with a nice little bow of like not even having our main character, who's dead, reconcile death in the great beyond, just having him like get back in his body, whatever. I don't know. I know you guys probably are going to hate this review because so many people love this movie. So I will include links in the description box to some reviews that I've read that I actually really, really enjoy. I feel like they also kind of discuss some of the things that I didn't care for with the film. Hopefully you guys had a great Monday. Very last week of the year. Rolling out review videos this week, and then a end of year / new year video at the end of the week. Again, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Food for thought as always. See you guys next time. Peace.